Inside Boys podcast, another episode, another week. I'm back. Culinary with me, and we have a very, very special guest in the building. You want to go ahead and introduce him?
Let's try this again. So we have a well-known person in the city. I don't know if you don't know. Well, you'll know after this interview. If you haven't eaten his food, you haven't eaten real good food yet in the city. If you haven't been to any event this man has done, I really don't know what you're doing. We have our guy, very esteemed, well-known Eli Fema.
Thanks for gassing me up, bro.
I got to.
Great
What's
intro.
going on, boys?
So we've been meaning to connect for quite a while.
Yeah.
I think we've been talking for like almost a month about getting you on. You've had your hand in quite a few things. Obviously, the restaurant industry, hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
We run in some of the same circles and friends and stuff. So we know that you have some new business ventures right here in the city. We're downtown Minneapolis right now. Mm-hmm. Do you want to introduce kind of what you and the family have going on in the past few weeks?
Yeah. So we just opened up a bakery, which is like 120 years in the making, right? So
120 years in the
yeah,
making?
because we're utilizing a starter dough that was passed on from my great-great-grandmother.
Wow.
The starter dough is just that substitute for yeast in the bread making process.
Okay.
So basically, a starter dough is basically dough that you feed fresh flour, water, and you poulet it, which is like stirring it, and then a ratio of room temperature to cooling temperature, and that creates a live ingredient, a live fermentation process. And so this process in this dough, this mother dough, this starter dough, is used. And most of our breads, specifically our baguettes, our sourdoughs, some of our pastries, and this is a substitute for yeast in the bread making process. So yeast is that ingredient in bread that has a bad rap, and when you introduce sourdough, it replaces the yeast, or a starter dough replaces the yeast, and by default it can eat pretty much all the gluten in the bread. So the gluten, of course, is that inflammatory in the bread.
The sugar,
so
yep.
This is now considered a superfood when you're utilizing a starter dough in bread. So we kind of my great grandmother passed it on to my great grandmother, who passed it on to my grandmother, who passed it on to my dad, and so it's 120 to 135 years in the making. And my dad was given a vial of starter dough when he left to boarding school from Morocco, from Casablanca to London to Strasbourg University, and then Strasbourg University got his engineering degree, still had this starter dough, and from Strasbourg to Los Angeles. So, and in the meantime, it's incredible because you have to nurture it. You have to, if you slip for 1 week, if you don't feed it fresh flour or give it the proper ratio from cooling to room temperature, the starter dough can die.
So it's like a pet.
It's a pet. It's basically a pet. Exactly.
And so you mix it in with like a new batch, and then you take some out?
Yeah, exactly. So when you're making the dough or the bread, you introduce the starter dough you take a little piece off, and then it kind of molds into the bread, and all of a sudden, the live ingredient eats the gluten, and allows the dough to have its own character, have its own character. And so depending on how you nurture it, the pheromones that come from your skin as you're kneading the bread, everyone's different. Everyone's bread is different. So I know there's a couple people in the city that have 20 year, 30 years. So ours is 120 years. That's why I say 120 years in the making.
So you think if we did like a live taste test with blind, like you could taste like y'all's dough over anybody else? Maybe.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting to do, right?
Yeah, there's a bakery in San Francisco that I tried their starter dough, and it has it has more earthy tones. Like I don't know. Ours is a little delicate, a little doughy, but nurtured for over 120 years. So that's why I say 120 years in the making, and we every year we give a little piece out to friends and family, but it keeps growing. Like you said, it's like a pet. So
yeah.
This bakery is called Mother Dough. It's in the Capella Tower, downtown here off 6th Street, and we're open 5 days a week, 7 to 2, and so it's fun. We got the main floor opening in March. So we have the street level floor that's open now. The main floor opens in March, and this is going to be like a Parisian style bakery cafe, like transform you into the streets of Paris. So in Paris, they have these things called salon de thé, which is like the tea salon. And so like there's these tea salons or cafe salons, and it's like upscale. Like you have a gentleman in a bow tie and a white collared shirt, serving you tea in this beautiful china, and it's like this upscale cafe, and there's nothing like that in the city. So we thought, it's in line with our brand of fine dining hospitality and elevated hospitality. So let's do these, kind of salon de teas and hopefully propagate them all over the city. We have a couple LOIs signed in Northeast and North Loop, but right now we're starting in Capella Tower and going to have this upscale Parisian-style bakery cafe.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I think with the restaurant industry, I feel like you being someone who's behind the scenes and us being people who love food and go to different restaurants, we only see like the end. We see the restaurant done, we see the food done. What's that process like from starting from maybe a blank canvas building like, let's do this, let's create the culture, let's build this from starting to now? Like, what's that process like?
Because that's really bold, right? Like in the times that we're in now, obviously a lot of things are opening back up slowly, but to open up another brick and mortar location with 2 different floors, that's bold.
Yeah.
That's like almost like a leadership statement. Like, look,
Well,
we're gonna be
especially downtown, and my father, Chef Fema, David Fema, has doubled down. And
Shout out to David.
Always been a pioneer as far as humanitarian aid, and it kind of led the way for our family and our community. And so doubling down on downtown. That's kind of what we're doing, and that's it's crazy.
Risky.
Tripling down, because I know you have another location.
Yeah, well, that's in the North Loop, but downtown is like, the
Downtown,
North Loop is like
yeah.
the cool kids table, and like downtown is like, where Culinary sat, and
Chill out.
no, I'm just kidding. So yeah, downtown, and but for me, it's like I grew up downtown. My dad had a restaurant called Minneapolis Cafe, and it was one of the premier restaurants downtown, and I would walk to, my dad would give me $10. I didn't go to daycare, I didn't go to preschool, give me $10, I go to Schindler's, buy some basketball cards, and it was safe. And like those days are so long gone, but I believe in those days coming back, and I believe if downtown doesn't work, if downtown Minneapolis doesn't work, it's gonna trickle out to the suburbs, it's gonna trickle out to the North Loop, it's gonna trickle out to the whole state. And look at Detroit, and yes, Detroit's a way bigger radius of a city than Minneapolis, but if downtown, it's in everyone's best interest to invest in downtown, because if downtown doesn't work, then the whole state will suffer.
Yeah.
And so we kind of want to try to lead by example.
The
here.
catalyst to the
And not trying to do anything for any type of attention, but genuinely believe that downtown will come back, and it has to come back. So it's gonna have a cyclic. It's gonna be cyclic, but I believe we're gonna be on an up and trend in the next couple of years, and we have this hope, and we have this and aspirations, and of course then we start making a little traction, then rest in peace Amir Locke, and then this happens this week, and
right.
it's a shot to our community first and foremost, and,
let's
and
talk
our black
about that.
community.
I think we should address that, just because obviously we're all Minnesota natives. We've witnessed what's been going on in the past 2 years, where it's been a kind of a bigger movement than we ever seen before. I would say it's tied to civil rights. It's tied to race relations. But it's just so direct. Like, it's such a direct tragedy, even with all the outside influences removed. With the police doing their job, when somebody that's innocent ends up dead, it's such a tragedy. It's almost like hard to comprehend or hard to process. I want to try to figure out in my own mind, like, what are things that we could do beyond trying to get the state and the laws changed and try to get, feedback from the police to that, make people feel better. What can we do on a personal level? Have you guys ever thought about that? Like, what we can do to try to make our community whole again?
Right. I mean, feeding the community is where it starts, and that's what we're doing. We're working with Second Harvest, Heartland, and Minnesota Central Kitchen. They're doing about 5,000 meals a week for underprivileged communities, and a lot of these underprivileged communities are minority communities. So, but that's a reactionary thing that we're doing on the ground level. But when something like this happens, you sit back and you wonder why and how. And why again? It's just crazy. We're here again having the same conversation, and holding our leaders accountable is one thing that I can do. Because we have not everyone has the connections that we have, and I'm so privileged, especially being a white male and having the connections that I was literally given on a silver platter. And so like texting Jacob like I did, when this happened, and kind of like not only texting about the vaccine mandate and how I feel about that, but also texting him and telling him how I feel about the accountability for the Minneapolis Police Department. And him hearing from someone like me is a little different than him hearing from someone, pointing a finger in his face. And he, whatever your opinion is on him, I don't think he expected to get into any of this. And so like you ask, what can we do? Okay, well, I know the privilege I have. I know the connections and the power that, I was given. So shooting him a text like I did the other night and asking him, how we could help this process, how we could help our community heal, and also letting him know that while we do stand with a police reform, not a police abolishment, and you may disagree, and people listening may disagree, how can we help hold our police department accountable? What is going on? We demand answers. My guests demand answers. My friends are demanding answers. And so him hearing from that from me is kind of like, I feel like a way that I can tangibly try to help expedite and like, because he texted me back right away,
right?
And he right away, and so like
that's something that the average person is not going to get to be able to do that and say,
so
hey.
If you have that connection, if you have that influence, we got to use it, and especially being a white male, I got to use it, and not just brushing it off as another black man that, it's and my sister lives a floor above the guy and knows him.
Yeah, I used to live in Bolero as well, so it was like just hit home a little bit more than like that could have been
and
me.
His
bro.
dad, Little Buddy McLean, a huge influence in the hip hop community.
Yeah,
I met him a couple times. I talked to Muja Messiah on Friday with Delano at the restaurant, and they all strike in different ways, strike home in different ways, and it's just like another one. I feel like
seems so unnecessary.
And I feel like some of my peers, I feel like a lot of people are getting tired of it, tired of the narrative. So and when they're tired of the narrative, you tend to like shy away from it, right?
It's like we always hear it. So like, it's never going to change. So what else are we going to do for it? You know what I'm saying?
It has to change.
It has to change.
It has to change.
It has to, because otherwise it's like you said, the heart of the city, the heart of the state is downtown, and the big cities are St. Paul's. And if these things keep happening in these cities, nobody's going to want to come to these cities anymore. You know what I'm saying?
We can't abolish the police. Like we've seen, even lately, the crimes are insane. Like, what if anybody suggests that as an idea, I just look at them with a blank stare. Like, you really think that's the message here is we should get rid of the police? You can't do that.
Yeah.
Instead of these tragedies happening from the police's end to us, it's just going to be our own people, continuing to destroy our community. So it's like, I don't have answers.
There's this indoctrinating like relationship between black men and white officers, and white officers feel threatened, and it's a stigma. It's a stigma that is stuck from generation to generation, and so like getting maybe officers in the room, white officers in the room with black men and trying to have conversations, and I don't know what it is, man. It's indoctrinated in people in our culture, and I don't think Hollywood has helped it. I don't think, and so like my buddy John Williams, he's a liquor rep for Southern Wine and Spirits, and he came in the other day crying because I knew this guy Amir. I mentored him, and he's like, Eli, like I'm scared. Like I'm a 6'7" black man. I have a license to carry. I'm a Navy graduate. I know how, and if he gets pulled over, the likelihood of something happening to him rises dramatically. And so it's like, how do you kind of rid that indoctrination, that stigma between the white officer and the black man? And that's, I know you guys are gonna bring me here to talk about it,
right?
But
I didn't even think about it till now.
I know, but it's plaguing our community and plaguing our country, and even plaguing the world. I mean, even in the UK, it's an issue. So, how can I help? Is a question that I'm asking everybody who's listening to this. And how can we? And feel free to reach out and let me know how I could better help. But I think kind of going right to the top, because I have that connection and being like, we're demanding answers. We're demanding change, and he's heard it a million times from people, but he hears it from his buddy Eli. Maybe I'll get some answers for us. But God damn, man.
Yeah, it's tough. I think too, as people like us that have businesses and have influences, about having that conversation with each other and saying like, yo, what can we actually tangibly do? Like, do we have to put money towards something? Do we have to bring other people in the room? Do we have to, have those meetings that people don't want to have those tough conversations? You know what I'm saying? And I think I've seen organizations like We Push for Peace and different things like that that have had that kind of, they have the black like perspective to have that conversation with police officers and say like, hey, even like a situation like that, it's a no-knock entry, right? So say you're from...
the law has to change. That's really what it is. That's
right?
it.
And it's like, say if you're in a place that you're, like say like you're in the ghetto or a poorer place, like there's people who are already running up in places claiming to be the police. So if I'm a kid and I hear boom, 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 police, and I'm already used to that, and it's not the police because maybe my house has been robbed or this, that, and a third, it's like, what else? How else do you expect him to react? So having those kind of conversations and saying like, yo, the reality of things is this is what happened, but the reality of the perspective of the people in those neighborhoods is not the same perspective that you guys are, like, we have to have some common ground.
There's the whole hostile approach, man. Like I compare it to like, I've had a business downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul, and I have vagabonds, if you want to call it, or displaced people come into the restaurant all the time and cause ruckus.
Like I remember that one guy.
The other day, some dude just took a candle and threw it on my bartender, tore
through a candle.
Bro, yeah, they be doing this shit
and
at
so,
FEMA's, bro.
It's crazy, and I deal with it probably a couple times a week. But I noticed, okay, if someone comes in like that, or just someone, and I know they're gonna cause trouble, I know they're not here, they shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to de-escalate the situation by saying, hey buddy, like we have a dress code, how about I get you some water? Next time you come back with our dress code, dinner's on me.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, this guy who might have tried to steal, might have tried to whatever, smoked a blunt in the bathroom, now he's leaving. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I looked at him as another human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to not do that. I used to go crazy. I'm like, hey, get out of here, get out of here, whatever. And then all of a sudden he gets wild.
Right, yeah, wow.
It's just,
Bro,
it's psychological. It's Psych 101, man.
You can't meet that.
It's Psych 101, and the police are doing the same thing. They're coming in so hostile, coming in guns blazing, and then of course,
like you're from a hostile neighborhood. That's all you know how to react. If you meet me with hostility, and I'm already somewhat hostile based on where my environment is, we're just gonna butt heads.
Dude, we were trying to get lunch, and we got our burritos and shit. We had to just sit down for a second, just eat. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just like a bite and then keep moving. Mm-hmm. These homeless people is at the pop machine just stealing pop, bro. The manager nigga is yelling at us. We don't have any dine-in service. I'm like, bro, they're stealing from y'all right there, and you're worried about us.
God.
Man, that's crazy, man. That's the world we live in. I remember one time, you did handle a situation. I remember I was eating at FEMA's one time, and it was literally just me because you're like, yeah, just come in, I got you. So I'm sitting there, and the next thing you know, I just hear this dude just screaming, and I'm like, it's about to go down. It's about to go down. Then Eli comes over, and he's just like, all right, I'm going to handle the situation. And then, it was literally cordial. He's just like, yo, let's get you a water. After that, I'm going to have to kindly ask you to leave. And, he wasn't going, but it was a cordial way of doing it. It's not just like, get the fuck out. We don't like your kind here. It wasn't like that. And I say, you got to treat people with humanity.
Dude, I could write a whole book on all the disturbances. A couple months ago now, Tony Parker was there, NBA Hall of Fame Tony Parker, and he just orders a huge bottle of Chateau Margaux for whatever. I'm not gonna name the price. Chateau Margaux.
Yeah, a lot of y'all can't even pronounce that, so look it up.
So, and I had just walked out the door, and my manager was like, "Yo, you should come back." So I come back, and this guy's at Tony Parker's table.
Oh God.
And he's talking trash to Tony. And Tony's sitting there, and he flips up the bottle, and the bottle just shatters all the wine. I mean, that's expensive juice, man. And Tony, the wine just spills all over
him.
Oh my God!
And so I'm like, oh my. And Tony at this time, Parker's been in my restaurant 5 or 6 times, and we have a good relationship. A friendly first name relation, whatever. And so I was just like, and he knew it. He's like, it's okay. He's like, we'll take another bottle though. Yeah, it's like, all right.
Eli's like, fuck, it's our house.
I know.
Half off.
I was like, that scene in Limitless when he's like trying to get the last bit of it. And he's like on the
Licking it.
So I felt like I was like, I gotta get this juice.
I love that movie.
That's a great
Limitless.
movie.
Let's talk basketball a little bit.
right.
So you guys have a pretty good relationship with the hometown Timberwolves.
Yeah.
You have talk a little bit about your integration with your business and kind of this season and the past few seasons of how you guys have worked together.
Yeah, so we began the Timberwolves contract in 2017. 17 with Jimmy Butler.
Also 5 years now. 5 years.
Yeah, we're going into our 5th year. Thank you, man. It's amazing. You guys know me. I'm a huge basketball fan. And my dad grew up, in Los Angeles.
Realistically, do you think you could beat me 1-on-1?
We gotta go. You've been talking smack for years now.
Just so y'all hear it.
D1 athlete. I don't give a damn. I play for Hopkins. All right.
Was it Coach Smith?
I didn't play. I sat on the bench the whole time.
But go ahead.
So this relationship has grown and we've taken steps backwards, taken steps forward. So we started out doing. My dad is still the executive chef of the Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx. So we started out handling all the sports nutrition for all the players and all the fan experience, food and beverage. And we were actually the first ones in the NBA to have that duality in the arena and in the locker room, a chef-driven approach to stadium food where you don't want to eat before you go to the game. You want to come to the game to eat,
So what does that look like, though? So the players are getting catered meals before they have games? Or?
So we were in the locker room for 2.5 years. And then now we pulled out the locker room. So we're no longer, they're doing their own catering before and after game. A lot of times we'll do the catering for them. But they're doing a lot of out-of-house catering and restaurants and, whatever, in and out the locker rooms. But now we're just doing fan experience. So we're kind of honing in on upping the game for the fans. So that's going to be the Lexus Courtside Club and the general concessions and the suite levels, and then a lot of the front office will come in and we'll do a lot of parties, probably like 2 or 3 parties a week, whether it's a sales team, whether it's the coaches, and so. But over the time, it's funny because the moment we pulled out the locker room, it was a tough decision to make because that was like amazing being able to feed these guys, and it was tough.
But that was on your end. You guys decided that.
It was mutual, but yeah, because we wanted to focus on the fan experience, but. It was tough because like this, how cool can we like be able to try to impact these guys and their game, but there's a lot of disagreement and as there is I'm sure in a lot of locker rooms on the food and my dad being a French Moroccan integrity, but yes, and was very stubborn.
They wanted to change and sub stuff.
He doesn't do that. You can't teach your old dog. He wasn't going to do it. Wasn't going for it. All the peanut butter, we make the peanut butter. All the breads, we make the breads. We're not buying any ingredients. Everything is coming from house. Brown rice with the halibut and a little bit of a beurre blanc for lunch instead of the fried chicken and the cheeseburgers and the pastas. But at the end of the day, these guys eat what they want to eat.
They're millionaires. I mean, they're ordering what they think they want to eat today.
Exactly, and they'll play the way they play. But I'll tell you one thing, man. Know who ate the most of our food? Jamal Crawford, Lindsey Whalen.
Okay.
What do those two have in common? Longevity.
Legends.
Longevity. Jamal Crawford playing into his high 30s. Lindsey Whalen playing almost to his 40. Why? Nutrition.
Health.
Tom Brady, LeBron James, these guys give a shit about nutrition.
Yeah.
And that is the number one catalyst in our belief system, in our philosophy to an athlete's shelf life.
Yeah. And me being a former athlete and a trainer, like I tell people when they train with me, it's like realistically, even if I saw you 5 times a week for an hour a day, there's 156 hours in this week.
Yeah.
You think this 5 hours that I have is going to change your whole life and what you do in your habits?
Yeah.
It might start it might be the catalyst to it, but if you don't change what the hell you eat, that 80% that goes into your body, that 20% that you output is going to be trash regardless. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't take care of your nutrition and you're trying to build something with your body, whether it's just a regular human, but especially a high-level athlete, and you think those little hours in between, you gotta fuel your body with some good stuff.
You have to.
Who were we talking about the other day? Ocho Cinco? He said he just eats McDonald's.
Well, look at, you saw how you saw
AE came with the McDonald's at the after the pregame.
He's like young, he's burning that. It's It's good. It's fine. Whatever. But imagine if he said, "No, I'm gonna eat 24-ounce steak over some white rice and tons of broccoli and a huge loaf of bread." That's the same calorie, but just so much better.
So much cleaner.
So much better. And those joints are not going to be inflamed. And it might move just a little bit quicker.
This much, but this much could change one point in the game.
whole game, man.
But, you know, A1's. So,
Yeah.
Like steak sauce.
man, he's an animal. So now we're just doing the fan experience and we're still, executive catering company for the Timberwolves. But now it's like that relationship has grown ever since we stepped out of the locker room. It's like now it's like I'm way more in touch with the players on a personal level and a food level. And TP was in last night with his agent. Malik Beasley's coming in probably twice a week. Pat Bev's coming in 3-4 times a week. I mean, it's like ever since we stepped out of the locker room, it's like all of a sudden the universe is like, all right, well, I'm gonna still give you what you deserve, and that's just so amazing. Like it puts so much perspective because when we got out of the locker room, I was so upset, man. I was so upset because I was such a dream, to be able to
Be that close.
Players.
Be that close. Yep.
And now it's like, these guys are coming to me now.
So Pat's coming in 4 times a week to Femas?
we have a special for
Yeah, what is that Pat Bev special?
called the PB special.
What's on his
It's funny.
plate?
I love his chef Heinrich. He asked me for the recipe.
We don't give those.
I left him on red, so if he sees this, I love you, bro. But come on,
Be real.
I'm gonna tell you what. Now, here's a chance. If you're listening, I'm gonna tell you what we do here.
All right.
We do a little white wine and red wine reduction with a tomato confit and a sun-dried tomato. A little bit of our fermented butter, which you'll never be able to replicate, but you can do it of your own. It's called smen. It's called smen. Has a weird name, smen. It's a Moroccan fermented butter. And then a little bit of local organic cream from Stony Creek. So we do that reduction 3-4 times over, introduce some handcrafted rigatoni in, and then do a A1 Wagyu from Australia.
Oh, that was
in the
Wagyu
cast
on top.
iron.
That's what it is.
That's
In
what
the
it
cast
is.
iron.
That's what it is.
And then we'll get that baby down
Nice
to
sear.
perfect temp. And so in the cast iron, we don't ever grill steaks in a French kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
We do the cast iron because then the juices and the fat, the au jus and the fat from the steak go into the cast iron and it cooks in the fat. And
Cooks in its own juice,
It's almost
yeah.
like it's a confit. That's
Instead of dripping
that's
down.
what a confit means, cooking within its own fat or its
Okay.
own sauce. So you take that juicy steak and then you take it out and you do a little bias cut, which means a slanted cut. Put it over the top of the rigatoni. A little bit of Parmesan, a little bit of French herb, which is called herbes de Provence. Herbes de Provence contains of usually basil, thyme, oregano, sage, and rosemary. Sometimes lavender. We don't do any lavender. A little French herb over the top, and that's called the PB special.
Wow.
And then
Yeah, I don't know if his chef is pulling that off.
You heard it here first, man.
Heinrich's talented.
You heard it
he's
here
good. Chef
first.
Heinrich's good. I love that guy. Also a Frenchman. Really talented.
Who else in the city would you big up kind of like that, that you notice just from their business acumen as well as, the quality of their food and hospitality-wise?
So
Like who
many.
jumps right to your mind, though?
Like 5.
Well, Justin Sutherland's a good friend of mine. So Justin worked
Shout out to Justin.
worked for my pops for like 5-6 years, and then opened up Handsome Hog hence after. So Justin, like I was our delivery boy when Justin was our CDC and sous chef.
Oh, real.
We were both. I was delivering breads to Lifetime Fitness because we all do all the baked goods for Lifetime Fitness as well, and so. I was delivering breads and then coming back after a 6-7 hour delivery and running and on the floor being a busboy. And Justin was my chef.
Oh, yeah.
And then I graduated. He graduated. And it's just kind of fun. So like I kind of started my he started with us and I know a lot of those chefs you learn from, but one of his main mentors is my father. So Sutherland is close to my heart, and he's a brother to me, and same with Jeremy. But Sutherland, of course, you have Gavin Kaysen, who's incredible
Spoon and stable,
talent,
right?
and
Gavin.
yeah, putting, and I just
More than just Spoon. He got quite a few
I
spots.
mean, that's the main one.
So he's opening the 4 seasons. So Gavin, Gavin and I's relationship
Yeah.
kind of budded this
Yeah.
year. And our relationship budded through our buddy who brings me on to the third one. You said 5, right? Or I don't know if you said
Practical, yeah.
Kamal and Arif from Nashville Coop.
Nashville Cool.
yeah.
Shout out to
That's-
y'all.
I didn't
man.
even know his name, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But that's a good relationship.
So Kamal's my boy, and we
I
have
didn't even realize when I went over to your birthday party that was
That was cool.
Kamal.
Yeah.
That's
I
funny.
mean, he's such a
Laid back dude. You would never know.
He has stepchild in Nashville Coop, but he has an invention for an invention. He has an idea for an idea. He's a forward thinker. He has this amazing press I can't say too much about that he patented, and we're working with him with our breads to do this gourmet lunchable thing, or not lunchable, uncrustable thing. And so he's incredible. He's someone, if you want to do food and beverage, have him on the podcast. But we have this thing called Monday Supper Club, and it's like me, Kamal, Rob from Folly Coffee, which is another incredible person and talent in our industry. So Rob has Folly Coffee, and that's where we utilize all our coffee through his. He's a Dartmouth grad. He played football at Dartmouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I got some interest from
guy.
Dartmouth back in
Yeah. So
back in the
and
day.
then he's like, nah, whatever.
Wait, that's the same one I met at your place too.
Yeah.
Coffee. Okay. I met them both.
And
It's a small city, man.
So
city.
I got
Small
on my
city.
lineup. I got Justin, I got Gavin, you got Kamal, you got Rob, and then my buddy Niall. So Chef Niall, he's the former chef of the Hewing.
He should probably go back.
What?
They need to bring him back.
Oh man. Well, yeah, dude. He did a lot of great things for the Hewing, and he's like a old school chef, but he's a young man. Like he's like my age, and he is like hard headed, but so passionate and incredibly embracing. Like he uplifts all his staff. Didn't work out at the Hewing, but I'm really excited to see what's next. I'm trying to poach him to come to our new venture at the North Loop. But this guy, you talk about someone who is incredible with knives, understands French culinary from the ground up, the mother sauces, and understands how to run a kitchen. Chef Niall is going to be one of the top chefs in our community, and maybe even the country. In the country, he's going to be a household name. So Chef Niall, Kamal, Rob, Gavin, Justin. There's a lot of talent in the city.
Yeah.
Brian Ingram, we all, it's fun because it's like we all inspire each other, man. So
That's awesome to hear. Let's jump to another. I know that we didn't talk about this previously, but fatherhood.
Yeah.
New father.
Yeah.
You have a young son.
Young son, we just had the appointment today, 6 months.
6 already? I was
Yeah.
gonna say 4. About
6
6.
months,
Wow,
yeah.
that first 6 flies by, man. How has that kind of affected your life professionally as well as
I haven't
just
changed
family?
a diaper in like 6 weeks, man.
No way.
My baby, my girl Daphne takes amazing care of him. But it's opened me up to a perspective of this. Wow, how privileged I am, and that any entitlement that I felt like this entitlement or immaturity that I might have carried is kind of eradicating, and because of this perspective this little guy has brought me, I'm so blessed to have him in my life. So fatherhood will do things to you that nothing else can, right?
Completely agree.
And so my grind is a little cleaner.
Yeah.
My like, all right, this kind of running around with this entitlement is kind of like going away. Like I'm so like every day I wake up, it's just thankfulness, and so that's what he's brought to my life.
What's I know he's young, so some of the life lessons aren't going to pan out until later. But is there something that like you remember when you were young that your dad used to always like get on to you about that you're kind of like, damn, I understand why he was telling me that.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying the
I feel
same
bad
thing.
for my dad.
Yeah?
I went up to my dad and gave him a hug the other day, and it's like because I want, and it's even when my dad and I work together, we're in a working environment, and so there's some times where I cross the line and become disrespectful, and it's like my conscience is like, no, because if Yossi did that to me, I'd be so pissed. So now I get like how like don't walk away from your father. Always, even if your father is wrong, because he can be. Just man up, look him in the eyes, and don't walk away. I was walking away from my dad.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
I'm dealing with a 2-year-old, so we're already in that stage where it's like full on just disobedience, full on just no.
Yeah.
And maybe you might even get a right hook. So it's like, I'm seeing that now. I'm knowing what my parents were dealing with when I was a young child, and I'm like, wow.
And I know when he was in the womb, I was like, it's crazy because life is tough, no matter how privileged we are, right? How blessed we are. Life is tough. We grieve, we go through turmoil, and so like even when he was in the room, I was like, this kid's gonna go through it. Like he's gonna have times like he's gonna get his heart broken. He's gonna fall on his face, and it's like you have this like you want to protect him, and so it's brought this perspective of like, I want to protect him. It's like, but he's gonna go through it. He's gonna.
Yeah, he's going to. I got a question for both of you guys since you guys are fathers. So with this day and age, how do you guys like plan on dealing with social media with your kids growing up? You know what I'm saying? It's infiltrated in everything. Like how they learn is social. I train kids, and I'm like, I asked a kid if he knew what a screen printer was, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, how the hell do you know what a screen printer is? He's like, TikTok. So I'm like, how do you guys gonna like? Are you guys gonna limit your kids? You know, there's a whole Kanye Kim thing with like Kanye's like, I don't want my kid on social media and all this type of stuff. I know your kids are young, so they're not there yet. But how do you guys plan on like moving forward with the social media aspect of like how it shapes them in life?
Yeah, I mean, trying to limit that screen time, right? Even like he watches a lot of basketball with me, and trying to limit the screen time, read more books. Definitely going to try to influence him to go to summer camp. You know, something where we caught the tail end of that magic, right? That magic where we weren't cyborgs, we weren't like completely
Numb.
Yeah, engulfed in the technology every day. I mean, where we had to log on and hear that. And
Oh, we
on to
definitely
AOL,
caught the end of it.
5 minutes just to chat with that shorty, you know,
The
on a Friday
AOL,
night. And it's like, is she on? Is she not on? You know, how
the
you gonna go?
messenger, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and so that magic, that like the unknown, not everything's at the fingertips, and that like it's so sad, and I get so nostalgic about it sometimes. But like I gotta remind myself that like this is just the way the world's evolving, and so trying to give him a little shade of that. I keep saying the word magic. That the magic for me in this situation is the relationship being detached from the people and the technology, the human technology. That's where I think where that magic lives. And of course, there's magic with our relationship with technology, the way we get to do this podcast, the way we get to look something up. But there's also magic that lives in that disengagement and trying to show. And I'm going to try to show him that magic in that area as much as possible.
100%. That's a great answer. Just because oftentimes as a parent, once your child gets a little bit more independence, we're oftentimes like shunning them, like go play, go in your room, watch a movie.
Now it's the iPad. All the kids have iPads.
Yeah, we do the iPad thing, and it's like now if you don't have the iPad, you're freaking out.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I try to get involved and try to introduce her to things outside of screens. That because obviously, I mean, I'm a nerd. I have my life, my job. Even when I'm in the club, I'm on the fucking laptop. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, how can I be that hypocritical for me to spend 90% of my day in front of two phones and a laptop and just tell you can't watch TV?
Right.
But I try to get her involved and teach her and introduce her to things that are outside. Like obviously it's been a little bit weird with COVID, but I try to take her to the library, get her into books. She's really into reading. Try to introduce her to sports, go to the gym, shoot basketballs, run around, just... some of those things that now it's not even being a normal kid. You know what I mean? Right. For us, that was what being a normal kid was. I mean, I remember my parents I would go with them to work out at the gym, play in the gym while they were working on the machines. I'd get sent to summer camp for a whole month.
Yeah.
I don't see parents not doing that anymore.
Summer camp, 5-6 weeks, no phone.
At all.
We had to write our family, like, that was so magical. Yeah, I think it's important for every generation to kind of.
It's a balance, but at the same time, I'm a protective parent, but I'm also very honest with my child. So I don't want to try to hide things from her.
Yeah.
I want to teach her about things because I know things that my parents tried to keep me away from. I just wanted more of.
It's ended up backfiring. Yeah.
Yeah, it backfired a lot. So I think I want to be open and honest, and we swear around her and stuff like that, but we just make it very clear, like, you're a child, we're adults. We're going to be on Twitter and Instagram. You're not having that. I mean, obviously, there's going to become a time where it's like every kid has a phone. And even as a kid, when I was a kid, I was hacking my shit and getting around the parental controls. It's only so much you can do. Yeah. But I'm going to try.
Now we're on the cusp of another technology.
Another wave.
Revolution. I mean, here we are in the meta.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already there. And now, people laughed at what the World Wide Web. And, only 1% of websites would hit, would be successful. Now it's like, and it's crazy. I mean, I was watching Pam and Tommy on Hulu. It's so good. You got to watch it. It's about the Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee Jones.
I just seen that. I haven't seen the episode.
The guy who leaks the sex tape is plays. It's Seth Rogen. He plays a guy, but they're like talking about. So the whole thing is like they're trying to find a company or a porn studio to leak this tape, and all the studios are like, no way. And then Seth Rogen's character is like, wait, what about the World Wide Web? And they're all like, no, like, what do you mean the World Wide Web? And it's like, let's leak it on the World Wide Web. And it's like so crazy, snaps you back into that, like, and that was what, only like
Just like, what, 10 years ago?
2 decades. No, it was about almost 2.5 decades
Two and a
ago.
half,
Mid
25.
'90s.
That's what I'm saying. They say like the
Just having
technology
some-
like boom from like the last 10 years is equivalent to what it was the last like 150
It's
years.
insane, man. We're just rapidly moving. Rapidly
Well,
going.
it's because we're getting more access. Like, think about it. As a kid, we didn't have cell phones. Now you can build a whole business off a cell phone now. We barely had laptops.
You can build a whole business.
You can easily, yeah. Like you can
film a movie.
yeah.
So here we are. You
Yeah.
know?
I want to run the speed round. I like that
is
segment.
this?
So you can explain it.
So yeah, we got a speed round. It's a segment, just to kind of open our guests up. So I'm just gonna say, it could be a phrase, it could be two things, and you just kind of say the first thing that kind of comes to your head after I
Alright.
say it. All right?
Fucking not a spot, man.
Everyone gets so scared.
It's fun.
No, let's
It's
go.
fun.
Bring it, baby.
All right, first one: tequila or vodka?
Tequila, agave,
Agave, okay. Chicken or steak?
steak.
Pinot Grigio, Pinot Noir.
Neither.
Neither. Wow. What's the choice?
Now you're
I
talking
know.
my alley.
I
bro.
know. I knew it was gonna get him on this one.
Yeah, Pinot Noir. It's no. You know what? I'm a believer in not wine with food, but wine with mood. Right? It's like it's whatever mood.
That's a bar. That's a bar.
It's,
That's a
it's
bar.
whatever mood you're in, right? And so yes, there is time for Pinot Grigio, even though Pinot Grigio is like the Bud Light of wine, right?
Okay.
Pinot Grigio doesn't have the ability to express itself and develop. So if it's a 95-degree day, and I want something a little citrus, lime, lemon, smells like fresh cut grass, or the tennis balls when you open the French tennis ball.
Sheesh.
That's your Pinot Grigio. if I want a Pinot Noir, if there's a nice steak and it has a really robust sauce and it's like already doing all the talking for me, maybe a Pinot Noir. But
Pinot
it's
Noir.
wine with mood, not wine with food. But I love French blends.
French blend. I should have just said that one, right? You're gonna like this one since he's got the tattoo. Wu-Tang or TDE?
What the fuck, man? Wu-Tang, man. It's forever.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
It's forever. All right. This is a good one too. Kevin Garnett or Anthony Edwards?
Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett.
man.
Give Anthony Edwards 5-10 years. You're still giving Kevin Garnett.
That's my childhood. That's your childhood.
So you're saying if AE takes us and wins, you're still picking Kevin?
Yeah, I'm still picking Kevin
Okay,
because it hits home. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was the last one of the speed round. See, it wasn't
like
that bad.
it.
It wasn't
That's
that bad. All right, we'll go to the next segment. We call this our business tip of the week. All right, so we're all pretty much entrepreneurs or some light. So I'm just going to ask you, what's for your entrepreneurs or somebody who's trying to get into the restaurant business, what is a business tip that you would give them that you wish you probably had when you were like younger, starting?
As platitudinous as it sounds, as cliche or trite as it sounds, keep going, because you got to keep going, even when you fail, because every time you fail, that's an opportunity, because most people are going to stop. And so if you fail and keep going, now all of a sudden you're one-upping your competition. And that competition should solely be directed inwards. It should be with the self, but of course we're in the business world, so competition's everywhere, right? All the buddies that I just named to you, all those chefs, that's competition. But the real competition's here. So you just keep going, and you just keep going. I mean, Fema's, for example, right? Fema started off with a hotspot, new restaurant, boom, sold out. All of a sudden we hit the streak where it's like business went down. And I'm like thinking, but instead of panicking, you take every guess, whether it's 1 or 1,000. And this is another tip, the 1 or 1,000 rule. That's a rule that I tell my staff all the time. Whether it's 1 guess or 1,000 guess, you come with I'll come with my same suit, same tie, not same freshly dressed, same mindset as if I'm coming for 1,000 people, because you can't get caught slipping. So the 1 or 1,000 rule mixed in with keep going, because all of a sudden, Fema's, we take in 1 guest that, even if it's just 1 guest that had a great time, all of a sudden that's like currency. I have that guest now. All of a sudden 10 guests come in tomorrow. They all had a great time. And now I have 10 guests. And all of a sudden 50 guests come in. I have 50. And all of a sudden, back to 5 guests. And I keep stacking up these good experiences in the restaurant. And all of a sudden, we got back into a full swing. And all of a sudden, we're busy now around the clock. And so it's like, especially in the restaurant business, that new infatuation that the guest and the community has with the new restaurant always fades. Usually does. Most restaurants does. But you got to keep stacking that currency, stacking those guests. And the currency resides in the experience that you're giving. So Those are kind of that's.
I love that answer because I look at it the same way when I approach my music career.
Exactly.
I'm trying to build a lifelong fan. So
Yeah.
as you grow your base of customers, clients, people that are interested or just viewership, if you can just make sure one person is obsessed with you, they're going to go tell 5 more.
Mm-hmm.
And those 5 can be brought to you, and then you turn those into fans. But if you're trying to focus on everybody at once,
It's not gonna
it's
happen.
not going to happen. Yeah,
Right.
but I got to treat every single room, whether it's, like you said, one person or it's 1,000 people.
Exactly.
I got to give my all to that room.
Exactly.
Because if you just bullshit through it just because you say, oh, there's only 5 people here tonight,
Right.
maybe next week we'll have a busy show.
A lot of people in your industry, DJs or artists in my industry, will have that multiple standard. And for me, that's the kiss of death, because there's no multiple standard when it comes to volume of how many you're performing for or giving an experience to. And there's no multiple standard in who it is that you're performing for. If it's a group of 16-year-old girls that come and they can't drink, they just want to have a good time. It's their 16th birthday. I'm going to treat them the same way that I treat the executive CEO for the Timberwolves.
Get them some kitty cocktails.
Yeah, kitty cocktail.
And you never know who somebody might be too. A lot of people will write people off, maybe
Yeah.
how they're dressed, or you just don't know them. You never know. You
never know,
never
bro.
know. Especially nowadays, you got to treat it the same way with the internet. Somebody reaches out to you via email or a DM or something, you got to field it all.
We had this inquiry for a 20 top dinner a couple weeks ago, and this lady was being so hard. We were almost like, just don't respond, whatever. Like, it doesn't sound. And then she's like, I don't want a prefix menu. I want the regular menu. I got the VIP coming. We're like, okay, whatever. But all of a sudden, this lady, she's the touring manager for Casey Musgrave. She's a touring manager for Childish Gambino. She's a touring manager for Justin Bieber. And so it's like, no multiple standard, but that's a good thing we kept,
The same standard.
we kept the same, and we didn't like write it off like, oh, this is going to be a shit show of an event, because some people will, like, if they're saying, oh, we don't want to do one tab, or oh, all of a sudden we're like, no, that's not our crowd. It's not gonna be worth it. But all of a sudden now she's like, she already booked it when she's coming back with Bieber.
Right. So you don't want to carry multiple standards, but at some point, business is business. So let's say this, like if you guys are sold out and you have to pick between certain reservations, is it always first come, first serve, or does anybody have, that secret bat phone where they're like, hey, you got to pull this plug
You're
from
about to exploit me.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, I know in my business, I give preferential treatment to bigger clients who are spending more money.
There's a loyalty component. Like, if you've been loyal and you're an incredible guest of mine, I'm gonna help you out here.
Social
right?
equity. They built that equity with you.
You know what I mean? Like, it happens almost every week. We're sold out on tables on Saturday night, and then I get texts from Malik Beasley. They want to have dinner. Of course, I'll make room. I'll push something. I'll call the
You
7
get that
o'clock.
text from me too. He'll figure it out.
I ain't doing shit for you. You can eat at the bars.
I'm getting kicked out with the people.
You come and eat for free.
You can get a water. Get the fuck out.
Just go.
Charging double, man. But yeah, there's definitely a little preferential treatment to loyal, but it doesn't matter who you are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a guy. He goes by Wiseman. He comes in.
That's a great name.
I don't know what he does, but he comes in. He drops like $50. I mean, he looks like he's off the streets. But he drops like $50 a time. But like, we comes in, it's like, Wiseman, what up? And we love seeing him, because he
Carries that energy.
He has that energy. He has a little street knowledge, and it's like, I love seeing him just as much as I love seeing,
Anybody else.
an A-list. We have Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox and so it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
I would say, I guess my tip was, heard this from, I think I got it from Zig Ziglar. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want out of life. So I think I kind of incorporated when I started making clothes. Because at first when I was doing my sweat equity stuff, I wasn't making clothes right away. Then somebody's like, yeah, start making clothes. Like, I think that's another way to brand. I'm like, okay, cool. Then it started like slow down. You got that buzz, like the fresh restaurant buzz. Oh, I got a new brand. You guys do this. And then after a while, people, okay, if everybody got a sweatshirt now what do you do to like keep it going? And then I'm like, okay, I'm getting good at making stuff. Why don't I just help other people who need brands and help them?
Yeah.
And then when I started doing that, I started getting more funding to do some more of my stuff. So I'm like, wow, this is how this principle works, real life, real time. So yeah, you help enough people do what you want, you build a skill set to help other people, you will definitely get a lot more out of life than you expect.
I love that, man. It's a good philosophy. It recycles for sure.
Yeah. I know we all got to run. We're all busy today, but I'd probably leave on the note that if I was to give a tip this week, it would just be don't panic, just adapt. Because when you start panicking, you're gonna make mistakes, and you're never gonna get anything done that you need to get done the correct way. So
that's how I feel about everything right now with technology. I'm like, I almost don't want to immerse in it, but I can't panic. We got to adapt.
Got to adapt. You got to adapt
I get
to
people hit me up about that, incorporating NFTs in restaurants, and I'm like, let's do it. Let's adapt. Let's adapt. Let's go. And so we're gonna be working with a company out of Chicago called I'm No Art, and they're really really cool. They work a lot with Beeple and a lot of the huge. They're huge. They're huge in Chicago. So they're working with us. They're gonna build FEMAs out in the metaverse.
Ooh,
So
that's hard.
That should be coming. So VCon week is here.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just talking to Gary
Yeah.
actually directly about that.
Really?
I told him I want to DJ at the actual
Yeah, well,
convention.
they hit us up. VCR group hit us up to do an event at FEMA's, and I was like, oh great, Sean Kemp hit me up. Gary. They're like, yeah, but we bring our own chefs in, our own bartenders, and I was like, all right, go fuck yourself. Like, yeah.
That's tough.
So what do you really want me to do
like,
there?
Yeah, he's like my chef's James Beard award-winning chef. I'm like, I was like, my chef is executive of the world. I was like,
poke that chest
so
out, man.
So he didn't respond, but we're gonna do some cool events at FEMA's, and maybe we can incorporate some stuff.
For sure. Yeah. Sometimes you do got to know when to walk away to carry your brand power too.
Integrity, bro.
Yeah. So
No one cooks in our kitchen.
Hey, that's just that's the way of the world. We appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Appreciate you guys.
Hopefully, we'll build and maybe have you back.
Definitely.
I think we all, the three of us have some interesting information to share with the world, and hopefully the viewers enjoy it. And we'll catch you next week.
It's a pleasure.
Say next time we come on, we're gonna have a wine tasting.
Let's do it.
For sure.
We should do that.
Live wine tasting with you next time we come on. And how do the people reach you on social medias? The restaurant, different things like that. Just put out your socials.
FEMA's MPLS is our Instagram. FEMA'sMPLS.com is our website. Mother Dough is tied into all that. Mother Dough Instagram, and I'm on Instagram as Elijah Fema. So it's been a pleasure, yo.
What are the hours over at Mother Dough again? We're gonna stop by
Monday through Friday, 7 to 2.
All right, we'll stop by this
and then
week.
we're gonna do happy hour soon. Yeah.
Sounds great, man. Thank you again. Have a good day.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Follow us on Inside Boys Podcast, Inside Boys Twitter, Inside Boys IG, Spotify, all that, or wherever you get your podcast. Peace.